And good evening from the Sun News Network studios in the nation's capital. I'm David Aiken. Thank you so much for watching. We begin tonight in Battleground, Ontario, the Sudbury by-election. Recordings released today by former Liberal candidate, and this is provincial politics, folks, Andrew Olivier, showed the Liberal Party of Ontario offered him, quote, appointments, jobs, whatever, after asking him to step aside and let NDP MP Glenn Thibeault take his place in this by-election in Sudbury. Premier Kathleen Wynne previously denied offering Olivier anything to step aside to support Thibeault, but the recordings released by Olivier suggest otherwise. Here is Sudbury Liberal Party organizer Jerry Lougheed talking to Olivier on December the 11th.
So, I come to you on behalf of the Premier and on behalf of, I guess, Thibeault, for more indirectly, to ask you if you would consider stepping down, even more than that, Andrew, nominating him. In the course of that deliberation, the Premier wants to talk to you. They would like to present to you options in terms of appointments, jobs, whatever, that you and her and Pat Sorbara can talk about.
Now, Olivier also released a recording of a conversation he had with Pat Sorbara. Pat Sorbara is Premier Wynne's Deputy Chief of Staff. That's a pretty important job. And while Sorbara makes no specific promises in that recording, she does suggest that Olivier could have a role of some sort to play on files in which Olivier had an interest. The recordings also make it clear that one of the conditions Thibeault set down in order to leave Thomas Mulcair's caucus in Ottawa for a chance to join Wynne's caucus at Queen's Park was that he get a free pass on the Liberal nomination in Sudbury, that there be no nomination. That promise was apparently made to Thibeault, and that's why Liberals like Jerry Lougheed ended up having to try to talk Olivier out of contesting the Liberal nomination. Olivier, of course, is running in this by-election. He's running as an independent candidate. Whole lot of news there. To talk a little bit more about it is Glenn Thibeault's former caucus colleague here in Ottawa, Charlie Angus, the NDP MP for Timmins James Bay. There we are. What you were saying today to reporters outside your caucus meeting about the level of cynicism here, and this is a peek into what probably too many Canadians think is the old backdoor, backroom way of going about politics.
When I heard those tapes, it almost sickened me because people are so cynical about politicians. And I listen to that tape and I think, well, now it's clear why people are cynical. These people don't sound like they're public servants. They don't sound like they're serving the good of the people of Sudbury or Ontario. They sound like they're deal makers. What really disturbs me in this is that Jerry Lougheed goes to Mr. Olivier and says, on behalf of Glenn, basically, this was my deal. I'm going to bring, Glenn Thibeault's going to come in. He wants to be acclaimed. Right. So right away,
he doesn't want to have to fight a nomination.
I don't want to deal with the people of Sudbury. I don't want to have to put up with them deciding who's the best person to run for the Liberals. So you have that level of cynicism, and then it's the jobs, the whatever. I believe Ms. Sorbara says something, whatever under the Premier's realm. You're talking about the Premier of Ontario, who has the ability to appoint people to boards, to all kinds of public entities, that they're throwing this around to get him to do the right thing in their eyes, which is monkey wrench the nomination process, deny the people of Sudbury, the Liberals of Sudbury, the chance to make a vote, and we'll look after you. It really needs an explanation, an honest explanation from the Premier. Is this how she thinks politics should be done?
I have asked the Premier myself why she appointed Thibeault and didn't allow him to run. She has been asked that by several reporters. Her answer at every point was, I just didn't have time. There was an urgent situation here, and quite clearly, she must have lied to us, or somebody lied to her, because Thibeault said, you don't get me unless I don't run. It wasn't about timing. It was about the fact he didn't want a nomination race. Now, I want to put up a board here from a poll that was taken as well. This is a poll that Forum Research did, if we have that, and it shows that the Forum poll shows a tight race between New Democrats and Liberals and shows Andrew Olivier, independent, at 1%. I put that board up there if only to say that poll is wrong, according to a pollster for one of those parties actually in the race, who says Olivier actually is in a strong second spot behind the Liberals, New Democrats in third. I know you've campaigned in this riding. Olivier, in other words, he's in this race. And let me get your sense, because you're going to be there, I understand, this Saturday. Might Sudburyans take a look at Olivier's honesty and say maybe he ought to be rewarded? I know you want the New Democrat to win this one, but what's your sense how this is going to play out in the race?
My sense is that there's a real sense of betrayal and hurt. Northerners are proud. They don't like Toronto Liberals telling them, you're too stupid to decide who should represent you. Northerners do not like that. They don't like people who crossed the line. Regardless of whether you're conservative, New Democrat, or Liberal, in the North, you just don't do that. It's about betraying people. You know,
I think there's probably a lot of parts of the country
and
you don't do that.
And I believe probably across the country. It's that sense of the trust. When you believe that your volunteers don't count, when the people who put up the signs, well, they'll just go with me, I'm the big man, you've lost sight of what it's about, and I don't believe you have a right, or you have no business being in politics. My sense in Sudbury is that the Liberal brand is very, very damaged. I think
and remember, the Liberals didn't win in the general election the first time. They hadn't won Sudbury in a long time in the general election.
The others, I think, piece of dirty pool is that, so we knew there was going to be a race, so the New Democrats were nominating a candidate. Ms. Wynne talked about the sense of urgency. The urgency was to get the jump on the New Democrats. So Glenn Thibeau's had almost a full week of campaigning while the NDP nomination process was still in place. So he's a week ahead. He's got a week advantage over the New Democrats. So I think his early polling numbers would have been, well, people knew him.
And that poll, by the way, that I talked about, that was done before your candidate was nominated. I'm told the pollster did use the name of the candidate that eventually won.
So I think the Liberals are in deep trouble. The New Democrat marks are holding, certainly galvanized our base. People have taken this very personally. So what we're hearing on the phones, what we're hearing at the doors, is a really strong message that we are going to send a message to the corrupt Liberals that we don't like this. So the role Mr. Olivio plays is fascinating because there is a disgruntled
he's going to be a player
vote.
in this election.
And you know, there's always a disgruntled vote in the North. Where's it going to go? I think that the Liberals will probably stay home. It's also a by-election, so the numbers are going to be smaller. So who gets their base out? We are very organized to get our base out on a by-election, but the role Mr. Olivier plays, I didn't believe that 1%. It just didn't add up.
Charlie, you of course you're in the North, and I agree with you. If the North gets annoyed at something, it's annoyed at people at Queen's Park telling them what to do. The big city, they don't like that. That's from my experience in working and living in Thunder Bay. In by-elections, Kathleen Wynne tried to be too cute in a London by-election, appointing an OSSTF president, hoping she'd win that. He finished third. The NDP beat a Conservative in Kitchener in a by-election. The NDP took a Liberal seat in Niagara Falls in a by-election. In all those, there was a whole bunch of New Democrats from outside the riding piling in to help New Democrats. You're one of those New Democrats piling into Sudbury to help out this time around.
I'll be there. I mean, to me, Sudbury's like home. I mean, the North, we are very much, you know, we stick together. But Suzanne Shabanquit, our candidate, is extraordinary. And I'm not just saying that because I'm supporting her campaign. I actually got involved in the provincial nomination race, which is sort of a no-no. I went out and backed her.
From another riding, a federal
I backed her because I thought this woman has integrity, she's got smarts, she's an entrepreneur, she was on the street at 16 and has built up a business record that's incredible. But it's also, I think, people in Sudbury are going to be voting on the old boys club, and are we sending a message about change? So I'm thinking that we have a huge opportunity there. The Liberals are stacking, they're bringing in all their cabinet ministers, but they just seem to keep reiterating that same message. Trust us, we're the old boys club. Pat Northerners on the head. Northerners don't like to be patted on the head. We are proud people. All Canadians are, and they don't like cynical politics. And I'm just so devastated that someone I worked with, that I thought I knew,
this is Glenn Thibeau.
Yeah, Glenn Thibeau would be involved in this kind of shenanigans and this kind of backroom deals. And you listen to this tape, it's sordid. It just makes you feel, ooh, you wouldn't want to have anything to do with these kind of people.
Well, Charlie Angus, thank you for coming in, and good luck this weekend and Saturday. Folks, we got the tapes at our website if you want to listen to them. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.